So today we are starting a new project. This project is an off-road racing shifter kart. Now, years and years ago, back when Cars and Cameras held their very first race over at their new property, which isn't new anymore, now I raced the YZ85 shifter kart, which was a ton of fun. The thing was a blast, except for the fact it didn't have suspension. And I don't even think I finished the race. I think the CDI fell off and I ran it over and ripped all the wires out, so I don't think I finished it, but it was still a lot of fun. Oh, my radiator fell off. Oh no. Alright, let's look at the damage. Radiator fell off and my CDI is missing. I have no idea where that went. I'm gonna go back on the track and see if I can find it. You think we're gonna be able to fix it?
Oh, dude, for sure.
Yeah?
Without a doubt.
And ever since then, I've been kind of wanting to build another one of those, except with full suspension. That's basically what we're doing, is we're building a shifter kart with full suspension. Now, I was originally planning on using the YZ85 engine, but then I remembered I have this. This is a CR125, so it should be better, because it's got more horsepower. Now, bonus points to the person who can tell me what project I stole this engine off of. So, I'm honestly not really sure exactly how I'm building this thing. And obviously this is not all the parts I need to build this, but it's just the parts I know that I need. So I'll probably need a lot more stuff than this. Now, let's first lay everything out on the table and figure out how we're building this thing. Now, I did accidentally buy the wrong size rims for these tires. These rims are 6.5 inches wide. That's why they're stretched really bad. This is the proper size rim. This is 5 inches wide. I was able to find 2 of these rims off an older project, so I stole them off of that project. Therefore, we can have them for mock-up. And we'll use these for the front. We'll use these for the back. I did end up buying the right size rims. I bought 4 of them. So we're just kind of waiting for those to get here, and in the meantime, we'll use these for mock-up. Now, originally, I wanted the engine next to me like a normal shifter kart, but the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm kind of realizing, because I want suspension on this thing, if I did this, it would kind of be terrible weight distribution. It'd be really heavy on one side. It would have to be a really wide frame. Also, because I want the suspension to articulate side to side, not just move up and down, I'm not really sure how I could do the rear suspension with the engine so close. So I'm almost thinking, what if we put the engine in the front? This thing's not that wide. It will fit in between my legs. It'll be a little interesting, but I think I can get it to work. Plus, I can move the seat further back. I can make this actually a little bit smaller. It'll be a lot better weight distribution. I will have to run a jack shaft, but I'll just build covers over everything. So, yeah, I think this is going to work a lot better with the engine in the front. Yeah, something like this, where the engine's obviously between my legs. I can still have a decent amount of front suspension and steering wheel right here. I kind of want to have this thing as compact as possible, but I don't want to have it too tippy, too narrow. But it would be nice if this thing fit on really small trails Yeah, having a two-stroke right in front of me, that's gonna be a bit smelly. But I think it'll work. Now, first thing we need to build is the front hubs. Now, I do want front brakes on this thing, and I have these tiny little brake discs and brake calipers from Go Power Sports. Unfortunately, they're not small enough to fit inside these tiny, tiny rims. I don't think anything could fit in there, but I do think I can make the setup work. It's just the kingpin angle and scrub radius may be terrible, but I really want front brakes on this thing. So one thing I've noticed with these drills is, man, they get hot after just a couple seconds. Like, wow, that's hot. And especially if you have to have your hand on top. I mean, you're having to push the drill down. This is where they put the vents. So it's like you're kind of covering up the vents. If you do that for a couple seconds with these drills, this thing gets super hot super fast, and the exhaust is almost hot enough to like burn you. Yeah, these things suck. Don't buy them. So here is where I just have to stare at this thing for hours and hours trying to figure out how in the world I'm going to build this thing. Now I'm kind of getting a game plan. I have a good idea on how I'm going to do the rear suspension. Now the front suspension, I think the only way to make this work is just a single A-arm. There's no room for dual A-arms. I was thinking about other types of front suspension, like twin I-beam front suspension. I've never done that. That would be kind of cool, but I don't really think there's much room for it, and I don't know. I think maybe the easiest way is just a single A-arm. Also, I'm looking at where the expansion chamber is. The bottom of the expansion chamber is a lot lower than the bottom of the engine, but we may be able to use that to our advantage because we're probably going to have to mount this engine a little bit higher off the frame, but we can make it to where the steering shaft goes underneath the engine, which will work perfectly for single A-arm because the tie rod has to be in line with the pivot point for the front suspension. Otherwise, you have a bump steer. So that actually may end up working out. So I kind of find the easiest way to start a frame like this is just starting from the center and working out. Normally start off with 2 center rails, and then the front suspension connects to that, the engine connects to that, the seat connects to that, and that's a pretty good starting point for building the rest of the frame. Alright, so we got the beginnings of the frame started. Now, next thing I want to work on is the front A-arms, because this will kind of determine where everything else has to go. Now, for the pivot points, for the front A-arms, I was kind of thinking of, is there any other way that I could use, like bushings or something to make a pivot point for these A-arms? But I found these 4 Heim joints, and Heim joints are awesome, so I'm just going to use these. Now, for the spindles, I found these. These are from Go Power Sports. All we have to do is cut out a 1-inch piece of round stock that'll fit in here, bore a 1/2-inch hole down it, and then this will be for the spindles. We just need to figure out the angle this way. I put this, so this is at 10 degrees right now. So I think for the A-arms, this can be level with the pivot points, because that'll still be 10 degrees. Then I just need to figure out the kingpin angle, and I'm going to try to get a decent scrub radius, but with these brake discs sticking out so much, I'm not really sure how much I'm going to be able to do it. Alright, so the A-arms are all tacked together. Now I decided to go with this non-symmetrical look, having this at an angle instead of perpendicular to these pieces, just to kind of mix it up a little bit, make it look a little different, and because I kind of want this thing, this frame being as small as possible, I'm probably going to be struggling with leg room in this thing, so therefore I'm probably going to have to mount the shock on the side of the A-arms, not really in the middle, like I normally do it, so therefore I made it to where this bend is a lot further down. That makes it to where I can have adjustability with where exactly I need to mount the bottom of the shock onto here. And obviously that's just going to give us a little bit more leg room, moving this a little bit further forward in the frame. Now, next thing is let's get these things tacked onto the frame. Alright, so next I want to mount the front shocks on this thing. Now this is going to kind of determine where exactly the engine's going to go, because these shocks have to be mounted in front of the engine. Now I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I think these should be tacked in place. I can always move them later on if I need to. Now I'm obviously going to try to get a decent amount of suspension travel out of the setup, but I'm not looking for long travel suspension like I do with most of my projects. How in the world am I going to do steering? Yeah, this expansion chamber is kind of in the way of everything. So, the engine kind of works here, except for the fact, how in the world would I do steering? My original plan for steering was going to be a steering shaft kind of going underneath the engine, and that obviously would not work with the engine right here. Now, I was kind of staring at this for a little bit, and I kind of think, what if I move the engine a little bit further forward and a little bit up, and that'll make enough room for steering, but then the expansion chamber's in the way of the shocks, but if I modify this expansion chamber to, instead of going, down and kind of up, I can modify it so that therefore it comes straight out and in between the shocks and above the engine, kind of just going straight up like that. That may work and have enough room for the shocks, the expansion chamber, the steering, and my feet, because everything's going to kind of be really compact in here. So, I don't know, maybe that'll work. Now, I'll be honest, I was kind of pondering for a little bit adding this. This is a Polaris something gearbox that has high, low, and reverse. Now I was kind of pondering adding this simply for reverse. Lower range would kind of be useless on this thing, but reverse would be pretty cool. But I would try to figure out how would it work with the suspension style that I'm planning on doing and the drivetrain that I want to do, honestly, it wouldn't work. So maybe let's not overcomplicate this project and not do another gearbox and just kind of leave it how I was originally planning on doing. I mean, this thing is small enough to where worst case I can just get out, push this thing, backwards. So now, next video of this project, we will finalize exactly where the engine is going to go. Possibly going to have to modify the expansion chamber and possibly start working on steering and rear suspension and getting the seat installed and all that kind of stuff. But we are slowly figuring out how this project is going to be set up. Now, I'm kind of building this thing with Durham Town in mind because I'm trying to think of how big the trails are at Durham Town. I think this thing would be insanely fun at the trails at Durham Town. So that's kind of why I'm building this thing. I'm trying to perfect it for that place. So anyway, guess that's it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video. This is a CR125 two-stroke engine dirt bike. Engine dirt bike? No. That's not right. Engine dirt bike. That's not right. Dirt bike engine. Today we are building a not today. I can't say today because then people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're finishing it today? Awesome!" It's like, no. Maybe in 3 or 4 months I'll finish it. Next, we are building an off-road racing shift. I can't. Try again. So, today we are building a new project. We are basically, we're starting a new project. Alright, so today we are starting a new project. We are building we are starting a new project. This project is a I keep wanting to say YZ85. No, we are basing this off of YZ85. It's an off-road racing shifter cart. This project is an off-road racing shifter cart. Now, first, the project is an off-road racing shifter cart. Now, for I don't know what I'm trying to say. Try again. Which was a ton of fun. I raced the YZ85 shifter cart, which was I can't say it twice. Bumpy ride. I had a really hard time keeping my foot on the pedals. Why do I start stuttering? Why is that a thing? Of just all of a sudden I'm trying to film an intro and I start stuttering. Also, I have a really hard time pronouncing the right words. I tend to blend words together. I'm trying to talk fast, and that definitely doesn't help. Then the engine died, so I don't even think I finished the race. But ever since that, I've been stole this engine off of. Now, today we are building another project. That's not what I wanted to say. We're building a new project. You'd think after all these years of doing this, I would actually be good at filming and talking to the camera, but that is not the case. I still suck at this. I have a hard time pronouncing stuff. I have a hard time remembering what I want to say, how I want to say it, and I end up doing just a bunch of takes until I get tired of it and give up, and then it's like, oh, there's a good take in there somewhere. Now, I better not see any negative comments about this project being chain drive. It seems like ever since I built the trophy truck project, the project that is completely chain drive, 4-wheel drive, ever since I built that thing, I've been kind of seeing some comments about negative comments about chain drive and how poor some people think it is and how unreliable it is, and I better not. And then it's funny because I built the mini Baja Bug project, and then I saw similar comments about not another chain drive project, and it's like, it's a snowmobile. Their actual snowmobiles are chain drive. It's not a motorcycle chain. It's more of a different kind of, but it's still chain drive. This is a dirt bike engine. Dirt bikes are chain drive. I better not see any more comments about not another chain drive project. So I will admit, I did ponder, could I possibly add, have drive shafts with this thing instead of chains? I could turn the engine sideways, have a drive shaft going to a differential, like a Polaris differential, going to A-arms for the rear suspension. But if I did that, I would have to raise the seat about 5 inches higher. The rear suspension would be a lot more complicated. It wouldn't really have that much suspension travel, and it just kind of overcomplicates everything. So no, this project is going to be chain drive. I am not doing drive shafts with this thing. It is a dirt bike engine. It'll be fine, it'll work, it'll be reliable, and I won't have any issues because it is a dirt bike engine. I will admit, I maybe went a little overboard with the two-seater project, which is four-wheel drive, chain drive, but that was just a huge experiment to see if it will work. So, because yeah, I thought it was hilarious with the mini Baja Bug project when I saw a couple comments of, not another chain drive. When are you gonna get away from chain drive and just use drive shafts? Drive shafts are superior, and it's like I never said they weren't. I never said that. It is simply just a different way to build something. That is it. It's as simple as that. Just a different way to build something.